Hey everyone, Kevin P. McAuliffe here, and I am back again with another Creative Cow tutorial. And in our ongoing look at learning Avid's Media Composer and Symphony, we're now down to the point where we're ready to do our actual audio mix. And in this lesson, I thought what I would do is I'd actually take this lesson and break it up into two parts. In part one, we're going to look at how to do a down and dirty audio mix. Now in most cases, what I'm going to show you in this lesson is how I mix on a daily basis. It's a very visual way to mix your audio. In part two, I'm going to show you how you're going to do audio mixing using keyframes. This seems to be a very common way that a lot of editors prefer doing their audio mixing, but you know what? I guarantee you, when you see my down and dirty method to doing audio mixing, you may not go back to that keyframing method again. But I want to show everyone both ways of mixing because I think they're both very important, and a lot of editors are accustomed to mixing using keyframes, so it's an important technique that I show you. But like I said, in this lesson, we're going to do some down and dirty mixing, and you're going to see how quick and simple it is to get that mix done in no time flat. Okay, short introduction here. Let's just get into Symphony and let's get started. Okay, so let's Command Tab into Avid Symphony, obviously an Alt Tab for all of my Windows friends out there. And the first thing we obviously need is some audio clips to work with. So what I'm going to do is simply right click, I'm going to say Import, and you'll see that right here I'm actually inside of the Dirty South Hip Hop Volume 2 from Rampant Design Tools. And why don't we just pick a track in here at random here? Why don't we pick, I don't know, let's go to No Sleep. Now one thing I love about working on the Mac is that there's a very easy way to preview these tracks without having to import them or without having to hide to the desktop and then go and find them. You can actually preview them right here from within the import window by simply selecting one of the clips and by simply hitting the space bar. And you'll see there is a preview. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to pick a different track here. Why don't we go with Swag in here? That's not too bad. I'm pretty happy with this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select Swag in 30. I'm simply going to say Open. You can see that it is a broadcast wave file. I'm just going to tell it that it's 2398. I'm going to say OK to all. What I need to do now is to right click again, simply say Import. We're going to come back to the Mac drive. I need to come into voiceovers, and I'm going to select my new voiceover. Now why am I selecting my new voiceover? Because I recorded this voiceover a very specific way. Now you're going to notice that as soon as I double click on the voiceover itself, you'll see that it's two tracks, so it's actually a quote-unquote stereo file. Now what's important to keep in mind about my voice is that my voice is really only one track. It's just me speaking, so I don't need two tracks for my voice. I only need one. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit the space bar here. You know, there's so many things to love about the Creative Cow, and you'll hear me speaking there. And I purposely broke it up into two parts. But what I think I love the most is just how much different and new information I get from them every day. Now I broke it up into two parts for a reason, because what I want to have happen is I want to have the music play for a little bit. It's going to dip under my voice. My voice is going to talk part one. The music's going to come back up. Once it gets to part two, again, it's going to dip down, and then it's going to come back up again. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is to get these clips into a new sequence. Now, before I create a new sequence, I want to just talk about how I normally have all my audio laid out. Normally how I have things laid out is I'll have narration on tracks 1 and 2. So if I happen to have more than one narration track, I'll have one narration track on channel 1, I'll have one on channel 2. I'll have any on-camera dialogue that I may have shot on channels 3 and 4. I'll have sound effects on 5 and 6, and then I'll have music on 7 and 8. I know you're probably thinking, well, it doesn't matter. I like to work with, 87 tracks of audio. So why should I have things laid out the way that you have them laid out? And this was a question that I always got asked when I was a teacher at the Toronto Film College teaching Advanced Final Cut. And I told them a very simple answer, especially when they're working on student projects. And I mean, as an editor, sometimes I work with an assistant, and then the assistant might call me at, 3:30 in the morning when I'm half asleep. Well, I'm not really half asleep, I'm fully asleep. And they'll say, I can't find the sound effects for X, Y, and Z. And I'll say, oh, you know where they are? I know that the sound effects are on 5 and 6 at about the 15-minute mark. Well, how did I know that? Because I always have my sound effects on the same track. I always have my music on the same track. I always have my on-camera dialogue on the same track. I always have my voiceover on the same track. So this way, if someone calls me, I can easily tell them exactly what track is something on and whereabouts in the timeline it is, because in most cases I'll have a rough idea of what I'm working on and where things are in the timeline. So it's just an easy way for me to remember things and for me to easily relay them to people that I'm working with. Okay, so let's take this voiceover track, and actually, like I said, we're going to create a new sequence here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create 4 channels here. Now, I don't need a video track, so I'm just going to delete that track here. I'm going to hit Command and U on the Mac, Control and U on Windows to just add a couple more audio tracks here. Let's take our voiceover. I'm just going to select one channel here. You'll see I have auto patching turned on. I'm just going to hit T on the keyboard on both Mac and Windows to select the entire clip, and I'm going to hit B to edit that in. Now, what I also need to do here to love, so I'm just going to come back here and listen to this. There we go. I'm okay with where that sort of starts. I'm just going to play here. What I'm going to do to love about the Creative Cow. As soon as it's done, I'm going to hit F6 because F6 is my shortcut for Add Edit. You'll see as soon as I hit that, I know exactly where this ends. So what we're going to do is keep playing here. Perfect. I'm going to come back a little bit here, and I'm going to hit the F6 key again to add another edit. And what I've basically done now is separated these two, so I now have a visual representation of exactly where these are. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my music track here, and I'm going to put the music onto 3 and 4. Now, I know I said 7 and 8, but remember, you obviously have to modify things. In this case, I only have a narration track, and I've got the music. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the music on 3 and 4 here. I'm just going to edit that in. Now what I'm going to do is just drag the narration down a little bit here, just so we've got a bit of music that will play. Once we get to the part where our voiceover is going to come in, the music's going to dip down. It's going to come back up once it's done. I'm just going to slide this down a little bit further. Let me just undo that here because I just want to move just the second part of the voiceover. There we go. And then we'll just end it right about here. Now, I'm just going to fade it out for right now, but in a later lesson, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can easily edit music here. There we go. Let's just cut that down, and I'm just going to put a fade out at the end here. Like I said, fading out is kind of a cheating way to do it, because you actually want to have the music end. And believe it or not, I actually know producers who specifically want to work with me just because I know how to edit music. Okay, so we've pretty much got things set up now, but you're going to notice that if I solo the first audio track here that has our narration on it, you'll see here it's only actually on the left channel. So let's adjust that first. What I'm going to do is hit F3 on the keyboard, which is my shortcut for the audio mixer. Inside the audio mixer, what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to come up to the pan. You'll see right now I'm panned to the left 100%, and I'm simply going to hit 0 on the keyboard and hit enter, and you'll see now that my track is now monoed. What I'm going to do is just play that. There's so many things to love about monoed. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to call up the audio tool here just so that I can see what's going on, my VU meters here. There's so many things to love about the Creative Cow. I want to sort of peak at about -10 to -8, and that's looking pretty good. Now I think part 2 of it gets a little bit hotter. But what I think I love, since I haven't adjusted that, let's adjust it first. Now what most people would think is I'm going to go through the same process again, but I'm not going to do that. What I think I'm going to do here, just for kicks, to show you how this is going to work, is I'm going to lower the audio here by 1 dB. I'm just going to hit -1. And what I want to do is I want to take the parameters that I just set for this clip and apply it to this clip. It's actually very easy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark an in point right here. I'm going to come down to this clip and I'm going to mark an out point. I'm going to come back to the first clip that I made the adjustments to, and I'm going to navigate up to my favorite little hamburger here, and I'm going to say, let's set the level on the track into out. Now you'll see I'm at -1 now. This clip is now at -1 as well. What we're also going to do is say, let me just move the audio mixer up a bit here, is I'm going to say, let's set the pan on the track from in to out. Well, guess what? Now not only am I at -1 dB and I'm pan center on the first clip, I'm exactly the same on the second clip. Now I just wanted to just double check the second clip. But what I think I love the most is it gets a little bit hot at the top, but that's okay. New information I get from them every day. Okay, now I think we're in good shape to get in and check the music out here. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to solo my voiceover anymore. I'm going to solo my music here. I'm going to come back and hit play. Now it's super loud. So the first thing we obviously need to do is bring this way down. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it down to about -8. Now to bring both of these parameters down together, you'll see right now if I was to punch in -8, it only adjusts the right channel in this case. What I'm going to do is just undo that. And I'm actually going to group these together. This used to be called gang, so you might hear me referring to these as ganging them together, but it's actually referred to as grouping now. What I'm going to do is with them grouped together, I'm now just going to punch in -8. And what it does to one parameter, it does to both. Now I'm going to hit play. Not too bad here. Let's hear it with the voiceover. Oh, we actually have to make sure our voiceover is playing here. Here we go. You know, there's so many things to love about the Creative Cow. You know what? It's okay, but it's still a little bit intrusive. I need to back that music off when the voiceover comes in. Now, this would normally be the point where I see a lot of editors getting in and keyframing their audio mixes. And when I see them do this, I always think to myself, it's a lot of work for something that can actually be done in a few clicks and get the exact same payoff. And let me show you what I mean. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have the audio, let's just say right now the audio is at -8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the audio dip down to -14 underneath these two VO tracks. Now the great thing with working the way I'm going to show you is this is a very visual way to work, and it's a very easy and fast way to work. I know that under this VO track I'm going to go down to -14. Under this VO track I'm going to go down to -14. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that with the tracks 3 and 4 selected, I'm going to come back to about here, and I'm going to add and edit by hitting F6 on my keyboard. Now if you don't have add edit mapped to your keyboard, you can actually find it right here at the top of your timeline. So what I'm actually going to do is add edits at the start and at the end, and at the start and at the end of both VO tracks. So I'm going to hit F6, I'm going to hit F6, again F6, and down here F6. What I'm going to do now is inside the audio mixer, I'm going to set the track level to be -14. What I'm going to do now is jump down to the next section of the audio that I want to dip down to -14, and I'm simply going to hit -14. You'll see a very visual way to work when you're editing and when you're mixing. So what I'm going to do now is simply hit the spacebar to play. You know, there's so many things to love about the Creative Cow. You heard that audio dip down and then it came right back up right there. Here it goes again. But what I think I love the most is just how much different and new information. And get ready for it to come back up again. Here it goes. Boom, nice and loud again. And then it fades out. But now I actually need that to dip down and dip back up again. So how do I get in and do that quickly? Well, guess what? Much like you're dissolving in between two shots, what I'm going to do is add an in point at the start, an in point at the end. I'm going to hit dissolve, and I'm going to tell Symphony or Media Composer that I want to put a 24 frame dissolve in between each shot, or in between each edit. I'm simply going to say go, and in a second here you'll see now that what I have is a nice smooth dip in my audio. You know, there's so many things to love about the Creative Cow. And here we go again right here. But what I think I love the most is just how much different and new information I get from them every day. Now I guarantee you that if you were to do exactly what I just did using the keyframe method, it would have taken you 2 to 3 times as long to do as what I just did. You'll see getting in and essentially mixing in a very visual way. You can say, look, here's my audio, so I know I need edits here, 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 and here. Boom, let's adjust the volume here, let's adjust the volume here, let's put dissolves in, boom, your mix is done. Really, guess what? Working this way or working with keyframes is exactly the same. It's going to give you the exact same end result. Now the big difference here is that if someone was to come in and sit in on this edit, we'll use our simple edit as an example, if someone was to come in and sit in on this edit and they needed to know where my audio dipped down and came back up again, they can just look at the timeline and see it right away. Now, I know a lot of editors out there like to work in the keyframing method. So in part 2 of this lesson, I'm going to show you how you can mix that way as well, if that's the way that you're most comfortable working. So if you have any questions, you have any comments, or you have any tutorial requests, you can send them to kevinpmcauliffe@gmail.com. This has been Kevin P. McAuliffe. Thanks a lot for watching.